A recession certainly brings with it a host of potential downsides, but it also offers an opportunity to beat out your competitors and come out on top. We're going to explore the effects that a pandemic has on the recruiting industry and how recruiters can prepare themselves and their firms for periods of economic downturn. Hey, and welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Preston. I'm a professional recruiter in the technology industry. Do you think there's a recession on the way? We've been keeping a close eye on the workforce statistics and the greater US economy for the past several months. If you've been keeping up with my videos, you'll know that the economists and analysts were split on the chances of a recession. So now that we've had plenty of time to analyze the data we gathered during the coming out of the pandemic, it's looking like a recession is likely inevitable. Although this one will be a bit different than the last one we experienced, which you might remember as the Great Recession. While the 2008 recession took a toll on all aspects of the economy, the upcoming recession would most likely take the form of a so-called white-collar recession. This means certain white-collar industries like finance, business services, real estate, and even technology are at a greater risk of cutbacks and layoffs. Blue-collar industries, on the other hand, have less to worry about. In fact, there are plenty of open positions in industries such as farming, landscaping, retail, and construction. If you'd like to learn more about white-collar recessions, I recommend going back to watch my previous video on the subject. In this video, I'm going to follow up on my previous promise. We're going to explore the effects that a pandemic has on the recruiting industry and how recruiters can prepare themselves and their firms for periods of economic downturn. But before we get started, please feel free to support a fellow recruiter. Give us a like, subscribe, click that bell. It really means a lot. While a recession is a scary thing for recruiters, executives, and employees alike, it's important to keep in mind that they're actually more common than you might think. It is only some time that they are as major as the Great Recession. In fact, recessions happen just about every 3 to 6 years. Plenty of businesses, large and small, manage to make it through these recessions. Some may even come out in a better position than they went in. Of course, it should also come as no surprise that many businesses also fold and are forced to shutter because of the strain imposed by a recession. Studies conducted by the Harvard Business Review of recessions in 1980, 1990, and 2000 found that 17% of the 4,700 public companies surveyed suffered major losses or were forced to shut down entirely. The exact opposite happened to 9% of those companies. They didn't just weather out the pandemic, they thrived. A company's success during a recession is dependent on how they adapt and reposition themselves. It's important to maintain a balance of carefully cutting costs where appropriate while maintaining a level of quality that keeps your customers or clients coming back. I always like to look on the positive side of things. A recession certainly brings with it a host of potential downsides, but it also offers an opportunity to beat out your competitors and come out on top. That said, recruiters certainly have an added level of complexity. After all, the service that they provide is tied directly to the health of the economy and the job market. In order to better understand how recruiters can prepare for a recession, let's see some of the unique effects an economic slump has on our business. How does a recession actually affect recruiters? Due to the very nature of recessions, recruiters are often the first to feel their negative effects. Think about it. A recession forces a company to cut costs, lay off employees, and curtail hiring, all services recruiters provide. In 2009, just after the onset of the Great Recession, a third of employees in the recruiting and staffing industry lost their jobs, and revenues declined 28%. Conversely, there is a plus side. When the effects of a recession start to recede, companies will be eager to hire new talent. Recruiters will be the first to experience an increase in business as the economy balances back out. So in fact, the recruiting industry had already recovered to pre-recession numbers in 2011, while most industries didn't fully return until 2014. It's also important to remember that how a recession affects you will depend on your industry or niche. In other words, not all recruiters will see a decrease in business at the same time during a recession. Right now, blue-collar industries are faring much better than white-collar ones. Of course, there are a lot of recruiters within white-collar niches as well. With that in mind, let's explore what companies who have survived recessions have found is the key to their success: preparation. The Harvard Business Review found that the companies that survived and thrived during a recession had one thing in common: plenty of preparation. Companies that aren't prepared for a recession are forced to act defensively, rushing in to adjust their strategy on the fly in order to cope with the sagging economy. Without planning and forethought, unprepared companies run the risk of making impulsive decisions that do more long-term harm than short-term good. So let that be a lesson. Preparing for a recession is an important part of getting a successful business up and running. It might seem so obvious that it's silly, but think about it. Without the the active threat of a recession, it's easy to put off preparing for one in order to focus on another, seemingly more important thing. With that in mind, let's explore some of the ways you can prepare for a recession. Let's start with the obvious. Recessions mean less clients, less sales, less income. If you don't have some savings set aside in case of emergencies, you're running a huge risk. Even without a recession, recruiting can be tumultuous. No 2 days are the same. Clients can come and go in the blink of an eye, and there will certainly be periods of downtime as well. Savings will help you weather that downtime so you can continue to look for clients and provide great services without the added stress of a tight or non-existent budget. Emergency savings become especially important during a recession. Additionally, you want to consider your debt. Companies with a large amount of debt are especially at risk during a recession. The good news is that recruiting doesn't have a lot of startup costs. You may only have a little bit of debt, if any at all. So if you do, you'll want to consider deleveraging prior to a recession if possible. Going into a recession with a significant amount of debt will severely limit you financially. Less income overall means more money going to pay off debt, which may force you to engage in aggressive cost-cutting measures. That said, cost-cutting is often another inevitable part of getting a business through a recession. You should consider how you will adjust your budget during a recession. Think about your monthly expenses. Which ones are essential to keeping your business afloat? Which ones are more expendable and can be dropped, allowing you to save money during a potentially slow period? The extent to which you adjust your budget will depend on your situation. A small recruiter may drop down to only a few clients. Maybe there's no need to pay for an ATS or job board subscriptions or all those other plugins during this time. Conversely, a larger agency may need to think about more significant cuts, up to and including layoffs. Workforce management. Speaking of them, let's talk briefly about layoffs. If you're an independent recruiter, you won't have to worry about them. However, if you employ and manage other recruiters, layoffs may be something you'll have to think about at some point. Layoffs during a recession are common, if not inevitable. That said, studies have shown that the companies which survive recessions are ones that avoid layoffs. They're harmful all around and can even be costly in the long run. If you find yourself considering laying off one or several employees, first consider any alternatives, hour retractions, furloughs, or performance pay before starting. Keeping morale high is important during tough times such as a recession. Decision making. While we're on the topic of running a team of recruiters, you should also put some thought into just how your agency is run. Your survival during a recession depends on careful decision making. Who is driving the decisions of the company? Studies have found that companies with a decentralized structure, that is, decisions are made based on input from a wide variety of team members, fare best during a recession. Having multiple perspectives certainly helps provide a broader overview of a situation. However, there's also something to be said about a singular focused vision driving a firm. Indeed, if you're an independent recruiter, you'll be on your own. If you're looking for help or advice, I recommend reaching out to other recruiters such as myself and hiring managers for it. Diversify or play it safe. There are conflicting views on whether a recession is a good time to diversify your offerings or play it safe by cutting them down. On one hand, diversifying is a great way of winding your outreach and making contact with new clients in tangential industries. On the other hand, a recession is usually not the time for risky experimentation. It's here where you have to strike a balance and find ways to expand your offerings while remaining within your core competencies. Identify what you're good at and focus on that. Don't waste time learning new industries. Find ways to offer new or improved versions of what you already provide. For instance, you could consider a VIP or conversely an economy service or even something subscription-based perhaps. Also consider offering consulting services or other offerings besides just recruiting. If you like this video, just another friendly reminder to like, subscribe, click that bell. Really means a lot to a fellow recruiter. If you want to see more videos like these, comment down below. Feel free to also follow me at Preston_Park as I try my best to also post behind the scenes content daily. Thank you so much again, and we'll see you on the next one.